Image of local connections logo with Sea Witch, followed by a map of Ireland.
Welcome to Invergordon, Scotland's gateway to the Highlands.
Aerial view of a vast Scottish landscape and mountains, followed by a castle perched on a hill surrounded by gardens and fountains, a thatch-covered cobblestone building on a lush green field, and whiskey pouring into a glass over ice.
Where you'll discover beautiful scenery, magical castles, historic battlegrounds, and some of the best whiskey in the world.
Aerial view of a white lighthouse set on a rugged coastline. On-screen text, top 10 local attractions. Captain Ian Dunderdale, dressed in a kilt and seated, is interviewed.
It's only a small country, but it's got everything that any cruise passenger could ever want.
On-screen text, Captain Ian Dunderdale, Invergordon local expert.
In town we've got Invergordon Museum, we've got the giant mural trail, the 11 murals.
On-screen text, 1. Mural trail. A mural depicts a small town parade, followed by an image of locals putting out a fire.
Which go right the whole length of Invergordon High Street.
Aerial view of Loch Ness, followed by Simon O'Sullivan, seated, being interviewed, and various images of the lake and the legendary Loch Ness Monster.
You have to go to Loch Ness.
On-screen text, Simon O'Sullivan, Invergordon local expert.
Loch Ness, obviously made famous by the monster, or Nessie as she's known to the locals.
On-screen text, 2. Loch Ness.
There have been so many sightings of something down there, both electronic sightings as well as visual sightings on the surface. There must be something down there. They can't all be wrong or crazy or drunk or whatever.
Aerial view overlooking the town of Inverness towards snow-capped mountains.
Inverness is the fastest growing city in Europe. It's a bustling town. There's some good shopping opportunities.
On-screen text, 3. Inverness Castle. Inverness Castle sits atop a lush green hill, followed by the castle as seen from across a river.
Inverness Castle, which sits atop the hill just alongside the city centre.
On-screen text, 4. Culloden Moor. A small thatch-covered stone building is seen at sunset, followed by Scottish clan names carved into a rock and tourists walking the scene of the battle.
Culloden Moor is made famous by the Battle of Culloden, where Bonnie Prince Charlie met his untimely end. He was leading 5,000 troops from the various Scottish clans at the time when the British marched up from the south, and there's now a fantastic visitor centre nearby where the battle took place.
On-screen text, 5. Cawdor Castle. Cawdor Castle is seen at the end of a grand entrance road.
We've got Cawdor Castle, again the Countess of Cawdor, associated with Shakespeare, she lives there.
On-screen text, 6. Castle of May. The Castle of May sits atop a lush green hill surrounded by formal gardens and fountains.
Castle of May is one for the royal family buffs. A long way north of Invergordon, some 2 hours there and 2 hours back, but for those that are interested in the royal family, it's certainly worth it.
On-screen text, 7. Village of Dornoch. Aerial view of flat green pastures dotted with farm buildings, followed by historic stone buildings overlooking the farmland and aerial views of a golf course.
Dornoch is a highland town. There's quite a few decent highland towns in and around Invergordon, but Dornoch is by far my favourite. It's quite famous for its golf course. So there's 2 decent distilleries close by Invergordon.
On-screen text, 8. Highland Distilleries. Large industrial stills are shown, followed by the Glenmorangie distillery that's made of stone, sitting near the water's edge, and then a close-up of whiskey being poured into a glass with ice.
Both of them are very special to me. Glenmorangie is probably the most well-known. It's on the outskirts of the city Tane.
Drink a good malt whiskey.
On-screen text, 9. Malt Scotch whiskey.
Drink as good a malt whiskey as you possibly can. And when you drink it, just put a little drop of water into it, and that just releases an aroma.
On-screen text, 10. Falls of Shin. The Falls of Shin are shown flowing over rocks in a wooded forest, followed by the visitor center and sign, and then a viewing platform where tourists watch salmon swim upstream.
Falls of Shin we visit on a combination when we go to Dornoch on a half-day tour. It tends to be a more leisurely tour. There's a beautiful visitor centre at the falls with a cafe and a great gift shop. If you're up to it, there's a nice walk down to the falls themselves where It's one of the prime positions in Scotland to view salmon swimming upstream and jumping through the falls.
A time-lapse of a Scottish lake and green mountains with castle ruins by the water's edge, followed by a lighthouse perched on a point of land.
It's a very scenic country. It's one of these places you're quite surprised at how many different things there are to see and do. It's just been carved out from nature, and we were one of the very lucky ones that got a lovely country.
Sea Witch wipes across the screen, revealing the Princess Cruises logo. Come back new.